So we're ready to start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ninth and the closing event of the European Union Energy Days. And it gives a very strong meaning in the sentence, last but not least. This is definitely not least, and it's not a coincidence that we have decided that this is the last event. And we wanted to make it on purpose because this event is about shaping the clean energy system of tomorrow. So during these EU Energy Days, we had local leaders, we have mayors, we have businesses, we have governments, we have international partners that made sense of the clean energy transition. But these champions are the ones that are basically going through and just pushing the energy transition forward in their communities, with their friends, with their families, with their colleagues. And these are the voices that we also want to hear because they are the voices for tomorrow. So yesterday, or a couple of days ago in some reception, someone said, it was a celebratory moment where we're talking about the global renewables and energy efficiency pledge with over 120 countries on board. And someone said that his son called him. And because he called him, and he never calls, because he called him, it gave purpose to what he was doing. And I think that's really, really important. Voices like yours that give purpose to all this, sometimes circus of a lot of people going around and difficult and complex negotiations. Today we have a very distinguished panel and a very distinguished guest and keynote speaker. And I'll introduce you very quickly. So we have Benjamin van Wenderen, who is a climate activist and children's rights activist from Belgium. Livia Kalosaka, Italian, Greek, and many, many things. A very impressive CV as well, but mainly one climate leader and climate champion. Kato, joining all the way from Tuvalu, a very strong voice and first ever COP youth delegate from Tuvalu in COP26. And we have Jessica Raktarioasa, who is an activist from Madagascar and currently living in Canada, right? Very good. Last but not least, Anna-Kaisa Ikonen will join us for the Q&A session. Anna-Kaisa Ikonen is the Communications Advisor and Member of Cabinet of the Energy Commissioner, Kadri Simpson. For everyone that is joining online, please do send us your questions via Slido. And I have an iPad here, and I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. Well, they will try to answer as many questions as possible. I will try to give them the questions. But without further ado, I think it is my absolute privilege to welcome on stage for opening remarks, Dieter Juul Jorgensen, Director General of the Director General of Energy at the European Commission. And Dieter, the floor is yours, and thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Isaac, for the warm welcome. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. It is a real pleasure to see you here this afternoon at what is indeed the closing session of our Energy Days. And as Isaac said, that is the right way to do it. We want to listen to you and make sure that we hear your voice. So here at COP28, what we're working on is essentially our common future. We are working, all of us, to try to make sure that the common future is as good as possible. We're here to try to make sure that the changes that we need to make for that common future to be, that those changes are being made, that we work together globally, that we build partnerships, that we talk to each other, that we listen, so that we learn what is it we need to do and how do we do it. We see climate change happening. I think a big shift in the global debate is there are fewer people who are questioning, is it happening? It is so obviously happening. And there's more talk about what do we need to do, how do we finance it, who does what. But we see it happening and we need to act fast. And when I talk about our common future, I know very well that actually I'm talking about your future. The future is yours, and we want to make sure that that future is there for you. And that's the reason we want to hear your voice. We're here to listen. But your voice doesn't mean your responsibility. It's my responsibility. It's our responsibility. We are the ones that have been around longer. We are the ones that have had a bigger impact on the climate. And we are the ones, many of us, who are in jobs, who have responsibilities, but we can actually help make a difference. We can help make that change happen. We can reach out, we can listen, we can learn, we can analyze, we can study, and we can help design the policies and the changes that are necessary so that we take our responsibility to make the change happen, to lower greenhouse gas emissions significantly, so that we can maybe stay on course for within the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, or at least as close to that as possible. And as everyone knows, we're not on track for that. We're overshooting, way overshooting. So the changes that are needed now, and they're needed across our economies, across our industries, across our systems, but they're first of all needed in the energy system. About 75% of man-made greenhouse gas emissions come from energy. They come from energy production or from energy consumption. And so the way we produce energy has to change, and the way we consume energy has to change. And in a way, it's simple. We know what we have to do. We know we have to change the energy system. We know we have to change the energy system to energy sources, energy carriers, energy generators that are zero carbon. And we know we have to be much better at making more careful, more reflective use of the energy we have. We need to be more energy efficient. Energy is not an abundant source. Even if it is an abundant source, we don't want to use it abundantly, because by using it abundantly, there will be some carbon content in that. There will be some greenhouse gas emissions. So we need to change that. So that's the simple part. We need more clean energy, more renewable energy. We need better energy efficiency. So that can be done. But we also know that suggested simplicity is not quite the whole story, because it is in fact complex to do it. It's complex to organize the systems so that we make sure that we integrate the high shares of renewable energy, to make sure that there's access to energy for all, and to make sure that we are as energy efficiency as one can be. Livia, you were here the other day as well, and we talked about your vision for the future of the energy system. And you told us about your background, your insights into both molecules and electrons, the physics and the chemistry of energy. And so we know it is fairly complex, but nonetheless we have the technology, we know what it takes, and we can start deploying that technology. And so that's the reason that we came here, the European Union, and especially energy colleagues, came here with one key priority, and that was to build as much support as possible for a tripling of renewables and a doubling of energy efficiency by 2030. Our President, Ursula von der Leyen, launched that call on Saturday afternoon at the leaders level. And by the time we reached that meeting on Saturday, 118 countries supported it. When we launched this in April this year, just 7-8 months ago, none of us had expected that it would be possible to build a coalition that wide with countries from all over the world, small islands, countries in Latin America, in Africa, both in the northern part of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, countries in Asia, all of Europe, the entire Latin American continent, the entire American continent, I think with the exception of 1 or 2 countries. So really a wide and deep coalition, because it's wide in the number of countries by now. Since then, more have joined. We're at 123, and we keep counting. We keep working to get more countries on board. But it's also a deep coalition in the sense that it is not just a pledge for change, it is a readiness to act. It's a readiness to do and a readiness to deliver, to implement, to reach the objectives we have now so clearly set ourselves for 2030. And we know that by setting the objectives, we also sent a strong signal to investors, to project developers, to manufacturers, to everyone out there that this is what we're going to do. And so hopefully that will help facilitate investment, private investment, and engagement into making that change happen. So we will continue the outreach, we will continue efforts to get more countries on board, because this renewable energy and energy efficiency is important for our climate, it's important for our security, our climate security, our energy security. It is important, it is crucial for energy access for all, including those parts of the world where there is no energy access now. Because renewable energy, smaller off-grid solutions, low-cost renewable energy can do that at a much lower cost and better and more secure than any other energy source. So this is important also for global development, for equity, for a just transition, and for sustainable development more broadly. But of course, it doesn't end with a pledge. So 2 comments on that. The first is we're now working to try to bring that into the outcome of COP28, the negotiated outcome, so that it will be in a legal form in the outcome document, so that there will be a follow-up in UNFCCC, that there will be a follow-up in the UN system, in organizations, so that we make sure that this has as much legal strength and value in addition to that political pledge of 123 countries here today. And of course, renewable energy has many benefits. Energy efficiency has many benefits. Clean air, lower cost energy, access to clean cooking, security, many, many good things about renewable energy and energy efficiency. An additional benefit from renewable energy and energy efficiency is that that will allow us to phase out fossil fuel. If we do not have any alternative, it is much more difficult to phase out fossil fuel. But when we know we have more renewables, when we know we're more energy efficient, we can at least reduce the fossil share in our energy systems more rapidly than we would be able to if we did not invest in renewables and energy efficiency. So also for that reason, that is important. And for us in the European Union, we came here with the objective, both this global pledge, the tripling renewables, doubling energy efficiency, but also with the objective of bringing an agreement around the phasing out of fossil fuel globally. So that's what we are working on and will continue working on in the coming days. And my wish for you, for your future, for the planet you will be inhabiting, is that you will see that planet with an abundance of renewable energy, with air that is cleaner, with more energy efficient, smarter ways of applying that to our system, so that you can reap the benefits of that, so you can continue living where you have grown up in that community and stay safe there with your family and your community, so that you can continue your work and your studies and help us find the right solutions, so that you can continue your engagement and your work for a better future. And the same for you. I haven't met you before, so it's a bit unfair. I've met the other 3 previously, but whatever you're doing, so that you can continue that, and so that Madagascar can continue to be the beautiful place it is, and that it should continue to be. So that is my wish for you. And my wish for the rest of us is that we will have, that my colleagues will have now, an interesting time with you, a time that is full of inspiration, ideas, suggestions, criticism, anything you want to share with us that can help us do the right thing and take the responsibility that is ours. So your voice, our responsibility. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much, Dite, for these very inspiring words and having inspired us even more today for sketching a very positive vision of the future. And Ben, let me turn to you first. What is your vision for the future? How are you sketching? How are you seeing the world that is ahead of you? And what can we, as governments and institutions and policymakers, what we can do to make that a reality? I invite you to take the lectern, or you can just do it from here, whatever you want. Very good.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben. I'm a 17-year-old climate and children's rights activist from Belgium. I will not pretend to be an energy expert or to have all the technical and political answers to guarantee a just transition. I will not dazzle you with technical jargon or bore you with statistics. What I am is an expert in the emotions felt by those who live their lives through the devastating consequences of climate change. The stories of young people, a few of them here tonight, like my friend Kato, who will speak in a few minutes, or Butura and Ronzina, 2 girls from Bangladesh who are constantly being displaced because of erosion caused by floods, not only resulting in lives lost, but also in children, mainly girls, having to stop their education. The summer of 2021 brought personal tragedy for me and many others in Belgium and Germany. The summer started great, the lockdown just ended, and I could finally be a regular teenager again. And I decided to go to a camp for teenagers that wanted to make a difference. At camp, I met an amazing girl, Rosa. Rosa and I immediately became friends, and she told me about her plans, about how she was going to do better than the previous generations, how the climate crisis, but human rights in general, needed to be addressed. It wasn't all serious, of course. At night, Rosa would crawl barefoot out of the window of her room to go dance in the fields around our campsite. I played my bass, and Rosa sang. Made plans for the rest of the summer. Rosa and I, together. July the 14th. It was raining, but we didn't care. We were happy. In our own little world, completely isolated of the rest, we continued, making plans, doing it better than our parents, laughing, singing, dancing. At the end of the afternoon, the water level of the stream close to the house we were staying in suddenly started to rise. We could see the water rising and rising second by second. We were completely surprised. Rosa, I, and a few other friends were in the house where we always were, next to the stream, which was getting bigger and wilder. I don't know how it happened. Suddenly, Rosa got taken by the water a few meters from me. I didn't think. I ran next to the water next to Rosa. I jumped in next to her. I was holding Rosa. The water was no longer water, but a raging brown monster taking us along. I held Rosa. After a while, we went underwater. I was still holding on to her. I held Rosa until the monster pulled her away, out of my arms. Somehow I crawled out of the water. I ran beside the monster like a madman, but Rosa was gone. 3 days later, her body was found, 7 kilometers away, against the fence of a farmer, in a muddy field with her blue t-shirt and her red dyed hair. Rosa, who was going to change the world with me, and who died in floods caused by the climate crisis. In the same floods, 220 people died in Belgium and Germany. The weeks and months after Rosa's death were hell for me. I couldn't function anymore. 1,000 questions were racing through my head, and I was mad at the whole world. But after a while, I asked myself a simple question. What side am I on? I'm on Rosa's side. I'm still on Rosa's side. She's standing here beside me, even if you can't see her. And in that mix of sadness and determination, I founded a Climate Justice for Rosa campaign. And thanks to this campaign, the European Union has officially recognized the 15th of July as the EU Day for the victims of the global climate crisis. And think of the countless young people globally who are transforming their frustrations into action. Kato from Tuvalu, Romina from Kenya, Beauty and Ronzina from Bangladesh. We are demanding accountability from leaders who hold power to effect change. And let's acknowledge that the climate crisis worsens inequalities, hitting the most vulnerable communities the hardest. And as we shape the energy system of tomorrow, we must prioritize equity, social justice, and the protection of human rights, and children's rights especially. The urgency of our mission cannot be stated enough. And as one of the people I look up to the most says, the clock is ticking. And let's also address the obvious issue, the fossil fuel industry. The climate crisis we find ourselves in today is a result of the catastrophic consequences of a system that has allowed a handful of corporations to prioritize their profits over the well-being of our planet and its inhabitants. These companies, driven by greed, have exploited Earth's resources without regard for the ecological devastation they leave. Their actions have not just damaged our environment, they've stolen the future of the future generations. And they've turned our dreams of a sustainable world into nightmares of rising seas, forest fire, floods, just extreme weather events that come along with the climate crisis. And to these companies and everyone who works for them, I say this, your time of accountability is here. We demand accountability for the damage you've caused and justice for the lives you've disrupted. It's not just a matter of environmental responsibility, it's a matter of survival. Phasing out fossil fuels is not an option, it's a necessity. It needs to happen now. It's the only way out. The world is watching, and our future is in our hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Very powerful testimony of the devastating effects of climate change, if not properly addressed urgently. So, and lived through a personal view. So, yeah, thank you for that. Livia, can we turn to you? So, again, what is your vision? What are your requests? What are your demands to make that vision happen?
Thank you. I hope everyone can hear me, and thanks everybody for being here today and those online joining as well. My name is Livia. And I think after Ben's story, it's a very big responsibility to come after him. But my story is a bit different. COP has existed since I was born. And of course, we're here at the 28th edition of COP. That means that after 28 editions, the problem has not been solved yet. But instead of focusing on being negative, why don't we think of what the world would look like if COP did not exist at all? We talk about energy, nature, people, and many more changes that are occurring. However, these changes are often framed negatively, like a burden. And if we want to accelerate the energy transition, we want more talent to join it, and hence we need to empower youth and make it more attractive as a sector overall. Rather than viewing changes as burdens, let's see them as opportunities to create something meaningful. And I've had the honor and the chance in my life to put this into practice, to be part of that collective drive to create a desired future, a future we want to live in. This is why I'm glad to be part of this event that is called Shaping the Clean Energy System. And youth is uniquely positioned to shape it, with the energy, will, and the digital skills that allow us to understand, connect, and build a desirable future. As you can see in the slides, we're not just inheriting challenges, we're architects of a new era. And moving away from worry to action is not just a relief, it's our responsibility. It's a collective responsibility, as previously Aditya was just mentioning. Also, this edition of COP claims to be one of the most inclusive ones in terms of youth participation. And of course, there is more to be done. But I think events like today are a testimony of this change happening. We, as youth, demand a seat at the decision-maker table. But equally, we must own that seat and bear the consequences that come with it. And it is not easy to do that. No one is perfect, we need to learn fast, and we need to support those that make bolder moves. This is why I'm dedicating much of my free time in initiatives like Yes Europe, a European NGO that I lead, where we created a safe space to act, where different disciplines and cultures, I'm aware it's limited to Europe, but better than nothing, they come together and they cultivate the knowledge and skills to realize the energy transition. It is such a safe space that allows people to take action and responsibilities from the start, with the support of an entire community. The most profound impact I've seen is in the people themselves. They're less afraid of speaking up, of leading initiatives. You may wonder how we do this. We have adopted a holacracy framework to unleash our collective potential. Holacracy is, in simple words, decentralized management. It works for us because it fits in our culture, but it doesn't matter how. It is that shared vision, that community support, and the intention of where we're heading that is the most important. Now, I'd like to move to my second slide, and basically, it's really putting the focus on leading with trust. This slide shows that leading with trust is crucial, but it is crucial because we're these days overloaded with news, with reports, and so on and so forth. Coordination is trust, and we have to coordinate here at COP if we want to move the needle forward. You can see from the slide how scientists, local leaders, and communities are being more trusted than ever, and this should make us all think of what the future may look like. Keeping up with everything, as I've just said, is impossible, and that is why we need leadership that we can trust to direct the energy and activities in the right directions and avoid the noise. We need leadership that is committed, curious, and connected. And when I mean connected, it's not just well-networked, it's also connected inwards and outwards with nature and with the communities. And by reconnecting, you also gain that holistic vision of the energy landscape, and you can design for systemic change. And with this vision, I hope that you can tackle resistance to change and foster collective action. I think also that these leaders will become role models, real examples of what can be done, of unconventional careers paths to pursue, educate and create opportunities that make people stand up and do something instead of watching time pass by. And here, I'd like to move to my third and final slide. Okay, you may wonder what this slide is all about. It's called the Dolly Zoom effect. I took it from cinematography. And this particular extract you're seeing is from David Attenborough. Filmmakers often use it to give altitude to a scene. The foreground stays the same, and the background stretches. Apply that to any challenge you may face in life. Zoom out to get a big picture, but as you do it, don't lose focus on the ground. To enable this transition, we need to make more use of the dolly zoom. Zoom out to get the global vision, but focus on local realities. Consider long and short-term perspectives. Solutions ultimately need to adapt to local needs. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. Let's keep our focus on the reality of day-to-day actions, because these actions will shape the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Livia. Very, very cool slide on the dolly zoom effect. Some of my colleagues over there were laughing a bit because of me, because I tend to, when we have challenges, it's like, guys, zoom out. Let's zoom out, perspective. And they were like, oh, God, here it goes again. But really important for challenges like this, definitely, so that gaining perspective and it's like the European Union integration sort of like policy, meaning that it's a bike, and if the bike does not move forward, it falls. So for that, you need to basically always have a perspective and sense of direction. So thank you for that, Livia. Now we move to Kato. Kato comes from the Pacific island of Tuvalu. So as I said before, first ever COP youth delegate from Tuvalu, and I'm sure that he will have also a very powerful story to tell of the communities in Tuvalu and how are they facing the climate challenge and what is the positive vision that you can bring us today. Kato, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator, distinguished speakers, excellencies, and distinguished guests. Talofa, I greet you in Tuvalu. Talofa, warm greetings from the Pacific. To be honest, I am not an expert in renewable energy, but I am really privileged to be here in your midst. I am also not professional and background of any high qualifications. I am just a boy who stays in Tuvalu, who wants to stay in Tuvalu. I am a professional, but I'm a musician. I brought my guitar at the back there. I take it wherever I go. I'm not gonna sing tonight though. It's been a long day.
Come on, Kato. It's going to be a reception after, Kato.
Do you guys want to hear music?
Yes.
All right, sweet. But before I go and get ready, I will give the floor to my friend. Back to you, to moderator.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. Let's improvise that. Cool. Jessica, how about that? So Jessica says, young climate activist living in Canada, COP28 youth climate delegate, advocate for representation of women and marginalized groups in the fields of energy and climate. Definitely, as most of them, not an energy or climate expert, but we were not looking for one of those. We were looking for a powerful voice in the climate activism circle. So Jessica, the floor is yours. Looking forward to hearing your experience.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to have you here. And first of all, I would like to thank the European Union Commission for giving us floor actually to speak about our work, but also ourselves. So my name is Jessica. I'm originally from Madagascar, the first biggest island located in Indian Ocean. Not the movie though, yeah. It's definitely not like the movie. I am a researcher in social communication, where my work is focused on social acceptability and gender in energy transition. And I'm so proud international youth climate delegate for COP28 and a member of the energy working group at Yungo. So as you see there, I like story when women save themselves. I'm a part of this story. I'm a part of these women, these young people who are uniting, who are pleading for the planet in different ways, who are working on various themes, including energy. For me, shaping the energy of tomorrow is shaping the life we'll have tomorrow. to deconstruct the ways of doing things today, it's important to recognize above all the role not only of young people, but also of women as stakeholders in the implementation on energy transition. So no one is left behind. And also take advantage on the inclusive and sustainable future we are building today. So I would like to thank the European Union again to give us space for this. So, energy transition, as a researcher who comes from a country that experiences a huge number of climate disasters every year, but who now lives in a global north country that is only beginning to feel the effects of climate change, I realize that resilience varies from one country to another. But I tell you, we don't want to be resilient, or we don't want to adapt. We want to make decisions on issues that concern us all. So not just because it's innovative, but because we no longer have choice. Energy touches every area of our daily lives. It's the most multi-sectoral field. Health, food, mobility, agriculture, building, and industry are all involved. So the question is how to optimize this transition to make it more inclusive, more comprehensive for the community. That's communication. So how to do this? It's including young people, women, and vulnerable community as stakeholders. So first of all, it's create a better dialogue with communities. Consider the importance of issues and impact on the energy transition that directly affect the community. Is there also the better participation, like, yes, communities are motivated to develop their territory, but only if it's based on better inclusion, distribution of resources, independence of process, quality and accessibility of information, consideration of participation in decision making. I'm switching in French, I think I'm tired. Transparency, incorporating community values and knowledge into strategies, and anticipate the social reception of the energy project for a wider population as a whole. So what is the perspective for this? I think, again, it's to make the communities at the earth of policy, offering new perspectives on existing public policy and incentive mechanisms, measuring the social acceptability, which is communication a lot, which is communicating a lot with the community, to predict social attitude to project, emphasizing their active role in the ownership and consolidation of an energy project, contributing to the resilience of our respective community, and finally ensuring that they can easily become energy producer and benefit from new technologies and knowledge transfers. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Jessica. A lot of good ideas, food for thought over there. We'll go back to we'll take care of the Q&A and some of these ideas a bit later. Before moving to Kato, I have a very good friend, a musician, who told me once that if you cannot say it, sing it out. So we're going to basically try to do that now. Everyone, Slido, please start popping your questions up here and for our panelists. But before that, in the world premiere, Kato, please sing it out for us.
Oh, yeah, like that, yeah. Like test, 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 test. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, moderator, for doing this. I am a person who cannot speak because I cry a lot, and this is the way I express my feelings and tell my stories of how the island ways. If you guys know the song of Moana, in the movie Moana.
Yes.
Yes. I believe that that this song tells a story about in the South Pacific, and also it's similar to our culture. And I believe the Moana movie gives me a lot of strength and inspiration. Thank you very much. Tatou tangata folau lava winga le tua masami te le o mai ua va ulita wale le ta pena pena Tatou tangata folau lava winga le tua masami te le o mai ua va ulita wale le ta pena pena olo va aue hoe tuku imua te manulele e tataki e aue te whenua te mali e ka he ko hakilia ka inga e aue tuku imua te manulele tataki e aue te whenua te mali e ka he ko hakilia ka inga e tatou tangata folau lava winga le tua masami te le o mai ua va ulita ole le ta pena pena olo va aue tuku imua te manulele tataki e aue te whenua te mali e ka he ko hakilia ka inga e aue tuku imua te manulele e tataki e aue te whenua te mali e ka he ko hakilia we know the way
That was really cool and impromptu. We like that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Questions are starting to kick in. A lot of questions from Slido that will pop up on my tablet in a second. But before that, let me throw a couple of questions to you on just transition. Let's start with that. I also want to address the issue of skills and jobs. How do we get people working on these sectors? But perhaps let me start with the just transition. What is what we're missing? How do we ensure that a global just energy transition leaves no one behind? That includes indigenous and vulnerable communities. How do we make sure? So this is your moment just to tell policymakers and everyone that is on the audience. How do we make it happen? Who wants to kick off? Livia.
Alrighty, so I'll take the lead here. And actually, just an hour ago, we've launched. I mean, this initiative is led by AYAN, another organization. It's the European Youth Energy Network, and yes, Europe is founding member of that. And they launched the Energy Transition Career Compass. So this is a tool accessible for everybody, with basically with the right jobs that you need to do in order to enter the energy transition. We were talking about, actually you're in Europe. Okay, we're not in Europe, we're in Dubai. But we're representing Europe at this moment. We have a lot of opportunities, but these opportunities need to be made more available. And also having that first job in the energy transition is crucial in order to lead the way. So there is tools, but also we need the endorsement of companies, of leaders that support these tools and be deployed at scale.
Jessica.
So I think here I'm advocating a lot about communication and social acceptability, which is very important when we want to actually make a project or when we want actually a more efficient, and just transition. So we should create a roadmap of activities from the output and the input, but also consider the stakeholders, like especially, as I said, the people who are affected or may be affected by the realization of the energy transition. So this will not only help acceptance, but also the sustainable implementation of the project. And for the most vulnerable community, I think we should do deep assessment in the field to know the exact needs of the community, so we can address through the project or the transition, and the translation and the important documents in the local language for more transparency, so no one is left behind. This is important.
Very good, Jessica, indeed. You raised a very good point, communication and explaining the challenge to stakeholders, youth, those who are on the side of the polluters, let's put it that way. So the challenge of communication. Let me turn to Anna-Kaisa Irkkonen, who is the communications advisor of the Commissioner for Energy, Kadri Simpson. Anna-Kaisa, you are basically doing that on a daily basis with journalists, with citizens, with stakeholders. What are the challenges you're seeing, and how we can be more effective in this challenge?
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the question. It is a very, very important question, because so much gets lost in translation, and so much gets lost in the fact that we're not always making sure that we're calibrating our messages and that we're really addressing the right audiences with the right messages, and using the tools that we have, especially in just transition. One of the very, very keys especially when we talk about youth and younger audiences, is to put the emphasis on skills and upskilling and reskilling and educating, and making sure that it is very clear that in the future we will need the future new energy system will need scientists, it will need engineers, it will need planners, implementators. And it's a massive, massive new world of new jobs, and it has an impact on the education, etc. But Isaac was asking about how do we then ensure that also our stakeholders and those on the other side of the fence, how do they understand? And this is very much framing the issue as a joint exercise of something that if the transition, the global energy transition, if it's not just, and if it's not understood by everybody, it will never be sustainable. And for us, as we are discussing with youth organizations tonight, it is important that we're not just listening, but that we're actually actively taking input as well, and incorporating this input in our messaging. The European Union has a seat in G7 and G20 in the UN formations. We're a powerful player globally as well. So by listening and taking input and getting feedback and feeding that into our communication and using our platform in this global and international arena, it's very, very powerful. And this is one of the tools that we absolutely continue using.
Thank you, Anna-Kaisa. And a lot of questions about communication and explaining. We'll go to that in a second, but I'm from a generation of before the millennials, so I was a bit concerned about forgetting a Slido or focus on a Slido. I didn't even ask the in-person audience that please do join us. I mean, if you have any questions here in the audience in person, do let us know or raise your hand and we'll pass you a mic. Let me know. Otherwise, I'll move to another question on communications. I find it quite cool, actually. It's someone called a concerned grandson. So basically, he's, how do I explain the need for an energy transition to my grandma? She is hard to convince, but she needs to be on board too. So how do you get to audiences that not your particular, like the normal, let's say, like targets? How do we do this? I'm sure someone else has some ideas about that. Jessica, do you want to go? Give it a go?
Okay, so if one has to explain, like with the easiest way, why should we actually make our life more sustainable and use the energy transition right now. I think we have to explain that energy is the most multi-sectoral field because, as I said, it's related to health, transport, building. So when, in my opinion, when a situation touches directly a person, it can help actually change the way that person see actually the situation. So for me, when we link the energy transition with other sectors like health, for example, or education that we need, for example, in every villages. In Madagascar, for example, they need to know that for their health, to make the services work, like every day and sustainability, we need a new way to consume, and that's energy transition. So health, education is related to this. So maybe the discourse will be engaging into another sector. Yeah.
Thank you. You want to give it a go, Ben? Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's super important when you talk about the energy transition and you try to explain it to someone that you first talk about the climate crisis, because that's what it's all about, and really explain what the climate crisis is, not only by very technical things but also telling personal stories like Kato and I did, and really make it clear what climate change is causing, and that by using fossil fuels as an energy source you are fueling the climate crisis. So really explain that it's about protecting people.
You touch upon the basically the thick of it, which is fossil fuels. This COP is all about a fossil fuel phase out. And what is expected in the outcome of the COP, of the global stocktake, is actions and tools to basically phase out fossil fuels. This is the doubling of energy efficiency, the tripling of renewables. That is very good. But there is also the strong demand to have strong language on fossil fuel phase out. How do you see the calls out there on fossil fuel phase out? There has been a lot of, so let's go into the geopolitics of this, of climate change. So there have been a lot of articles lately on quoting COP presidency saying that fossil fuels are not the problem, it's the emissions of fossil fuels. There have been also other articles saying that energy is not an issue by itself, it's the way you use energy. So what are your thoughts about that? You think that, is this the right way to go? Tell me, how do you feel lately these comments? Livia.
Yeah, I don't want to take the lead on too many things, but I'm a chemist, right? So I'm going to try and, I'm not an expert in geopolitics, but I'm just going to try and share my vision. I think that when we think of fossil fuels, I'll take an example, cars. Actually, cars, the first car was an electric car. If those of you that don't know it, you can search it up. They had invented on an electrical vehicle. But they found out that running the car on fossil fuels was easier because it was cheaper. Because fossil fuels the industry is very lucrative. It's very easy to generate profit out of this. And so this is why we had cars that run on fossil fuels. But that led us to a state, to a global really supply chain that is not working. And what I've heard in these days is always talking about energy security, of being more reliant on our own sources. And I think that renewables make sense. It's just the logical way to go forward because you're less dependent, you're empowering people. The solutions that we have are also very local. And I think it's really about, again, I'm all about changing the narratives. I think that countries, maybe like here in the UAE, fossil fuel is what they have, but that doesn't mean that we need to replicate the same model everywhere. So I still think that maybe fossil fuel will exist for certain countries, but others, they have many more resources and they have other ways of creating that energy, that they can do it in a different way that makes more sense for them. So I really emphasize on logic here and just going where the energy is. And if you have solar, use solar. If you have geothermal, use geothermal. If you have wind, use wind. use whatever you do, but use what is logical as well.
You can clap if you agree with that, definitely. Of course. And Anna-Kaisa, please, go ahead.
Yes, I could make a short comment on this as you raised the geopolitical issue on the fossil fuels phase out, which is something that the European Union is very much supporting to have in the final text from COP. But it has what our Director General Ditte mentioned in her keynote earlier as well. I think it was a very, very good way to put it. It has a security element as well. Because, I mean, if we look back at the history of the world, I mean, what used to be the reasons that caused most of the wars? Natural resources. So it's very clearly, I mean, if we have homegrown renewables, it increases our energy independence. We've seen the situation in Europe, what happened when Russia attacked Ukraine. So that is one point. Politically, we're seeing a shift. It's a massive shift. Energy is playing a big role at this COP. We're dedicating 2 days to energy issues. The Global Pledge, 123 countries signed up to it. It is a political signal that we're taking this seriously, and we will take this forward. And also what Tito was saying in the beginning, and I will repeat this point because I think it's very, very important in this discussion about fossils versus renewables. We have to ramp up renewables to make them more affordable, to make them more accessible, so that there's an absolutely credible alternative to fossil fuels. This is also one of the points, and this is very much what we are working on. But politically and geopolitically, it is very clear that this issue is now on the agenda. Has been already for some time, but I think this COP was a little bit of a it shifted the gear and so hopefully stepped up the game for some time, so that we will see actual follow-up to the pledge.
Jessica, please.
So, thank you. So maybe to add on this, I think, yes, I would love to have, I mean, more dedicated negotiation track on energy at COP, because there is no more dedicated negotiation on track at COP regarding energy and fossil fuel. So that maybe the question is how to reduce the gap between existing emission reduction plan and what is required to reduce the emissions. So yes, I will advocate on this more negotiation tracks on energy at COP and the next COP who is coming.
Thank you, Jessica. A lot of comments on geopolitics and energy, and it's true that I've been doing this climate negotiations for many years, and at the beginning it was like, you know, closed door negotiating rooms talking about Article 6, Article 3, the comma here and there. Now it's all about energy and how energy is part of the solution and how energy can fix the climate conundrum. So that's why we thought that having energy days as well here, just to put pressure, and having this pledge on renewables and energy efficiency landing on the GST text would make a lot of sense. Now, of course, the pledge has been signed. Hopefully it will be sealed and then delivered, as the song says. So, but coming back to songs or words, I have a number of questions for you, Kato. So a lot of people basically want to learn more about your experience in Tuvalu and the community's experience in Tuvalu. How do they face the daily lives of climate change? I travel all around the area and I've seen that, listen, this used to be a street and it's not anymore. So how does these geopolitical conversations of fossil fuel phase out affect vulnerable communities in small island states?
Thank you very much for that question. So if you guys don't know what Tuvalu is a very small island.
It's a strip.
Yeah, it's just a strip. It is the 4th smallest country in the world, and with my talent as a musician, that was my dream when I was young. I wanted to grow up and be a very good teacher of teaching how to my small sisters and brothers, nephews and nieces. But then when I was growing up, I've noticed that there was a lot of changes, not good changes, bad changes. Uh, I've noticed that sea level rise has really impact Tuvalu. There are things that I used to do, and now I cannot do anymore. Um, there are this place that I used to play when I was a kid. I went back to Fiji for my parents' education, and then when I came back after 3 years, it was gone. So I told my friends, "Oh, let's go and play. Find somewhere so we can play." And then when we went to play, after that, after 2 years, we have to go. My parents have to go back to Fiji for studies. Then when I came back, it's gone again. The place that we used to play. I'm like, wait, what is going on? I have no idea as a musician. I have no idea what was going on. But then I have to find out because I know Tuvalu is not. It's not going to be a good future if nothing is done. So I left my dream. I left my dream as a musician, and I became a climate activist. So this is why I'm here in COP. I wanted to tell you my culture, how beautiful it is. If you come to Tuvalu, we will welcome you with open arms. We will welcome you with love, even though if you're a foreigner. But Tuvalu is about to sink. And you expertise can give us ideas. Give us ideas and knowledge, and how can you guys help us to save Tuvalu? I want my children to learn music or do traditional dance without worrying about climate change in the future. I want my children to fish. I like fishing. To fish where I always fish. I like my children to be where I was when I was a young boy. Not like traveling around and come back to see that the place that they love to hang around, it's gone. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kato. A lot of questions. It's pretty buzzing, the Slido. So I don't even know where to start. Questions on all different directions, but a lot of comments as well. So we have someone from Marseille. I'm a student in Aix-en-Provence and would like to get advice on how to get involved in climate change activism. A lot of people saying, I just wanted to say that you are also inspiring. And I guess some Italian person saying, "Buongiorno, your panel is very interesting. Thank you for bringing youth into the Energy Days. Touching speeches. I feel more positive listening to engage people. I love your song," says someone else. "Thank you for bringing a bit of poesy." So I guess also, so a lot of praise and comments. But that quick question. So we heard about some of your personal stories. Why do you got involved into climate change activism? But what is the piece of advice that you will give to some of these youngsters and students that they want to follow your steps? Livia, I know you want it, and then Ben.
I start again?
Let's do that.
No, I'll just address the question from the person from Aix-en-Provence, I believe. In Europe, there is a lot of initiatives that you can join. Yes, Europe is one of them. AYEN is another one. In France, I believe you have Pour un réveil écologique. Just find your community. I think this is my piece of advice. Find people that you resonate with. Not everybody. As I was saying, like at Yes Europe, we work using this framework that is holacracy, but just work with whatever works best for you, but try. And as I was saying before, we're very connected in this digital world. I think just look it online, and the moment you find one, don't even be afraid of asking. I'm very curious. That's also why I was saying, we need to be curious, connected, and committed. Just ask questions, and most often than not, you will get a reply. So yeah, just give it a try, and I'm sure you'll find your place.
Ben, what is your advice or personal experience to share?
I think you really just have to find your own way of being an activist. You can do basically everything from civil disobedience actions to trying to be a climate diplomat, and also find an organization, you find people that you like. And if there's no organization you like yet, start your own. Like there's so many people that really want to take action, so just find your way of doing it, and we need you, we need everyone. Um, so yeah, I think that's it.
Perfect. Absolutely. Thank you, Ben. Anna-Kaisa, please.
I want to share wisdom to young people. No,
From
it's
youngster
just-
to youngster,
Yes,
Anna-Kaisa.
exactly. Exactly. Well, basically, be loud and be visible, be disobedient, go to demos and give us the sense of urgency every now and then. We do need it. We have our processes, and we're working on it, and then our legislation and well, basically the legislative changes, they take time, and therefore, I mean, we're here for it. We want to. It's very, very healthy to get this shock to the system every now and then to see that, well, actually, we need to speed up. We need to really speed up our processes, because we can do that as well. We can do emergency legislation. We can speed up negotiations. We can do that. But it is very, very good to have the younger generation to really show that, look, guys, this is our life. This is our future we're talking about. So continue doing that and just really be all over the place. We do need that every now and then.
Thank you, Anna-Kaisa. We indeed need a lot of that, and a lot of music. A lot of people say here, play that again. Music can be a great way of doing activism, Kato. Both things need to go together. Thanks a lot. And they asked to play it again. We'll play it again. I'm sure that I have a lot of audience with me, also advocating for that. But there are a number of questions here about your personal choices and lifestyle. How do you walk the talk, and what is what you do, just to show that you mean it? Tell us a little bit of your lifestyle. I mean, again, I come from a generation where not even people recycle, and there was not this conscious about that. And electric cars were in Back to the Future, the movies, the first, the second, and the third sequel. I'm sure that you don't even have watched Back to the Future. But so how is your lifestyle? What is what you do?
Do you hear? Yes, I
We
hear
do.
myself. Okay, so I love the question. I haven't expected it, but so my lifestyle in a nutshell, I have 22 plants, so I'm very into plants first. I don't. We have one car at home, and we use it to do everything that we need. For food, we try to be very conscious in every consumption that we made. When we buy things, when I buy things, I need to see if the things that I'm buying, if the company that actually is are actually selling the things are correspond to my values actually. So everything or every choices that I make is because those are related to my personal values. So it's more of compassion to nature, compassion to myself, compassion to every people that I meet, and all. That's it.
Very good. Who else wants to share a little bit of the lifestyle, if at all? No, no, Anna-Kaisa, don't share your lifestyle. Who wants to share a little bit of advice on that, or Ben, you wanna give it a go?
Sure. So I, of course, try to do everything as good as possible. Like things like recycling, like I don't really have to think about it anymore. It's so logical. But yeah, just try to limit everything. You don't need to be too hard on yourself, but try to be a little hard. And I'm actually sometimes I get really irritated by the question, because of course I try as much as possible to do like the smallest carbon footprint ever. But then I also think like the carbon footprint was invented by an oil company, And it's not the right way of thinking, I think, because it's important to do your own part, but we need systematic change. We need like things like the European Commission to really help us with systematic change. Like the system we live in has to change, and so I think we need to start there. But also do your own thing and let your ambition grow from that to have systematic change.
A lot of change, and I have a very good question here that goes very well with that. Someone from Madrid in Spain. Are any of you intending to become politicians? Come on, go for it.
I think we all do. As an activist, I think we all do politics. But in my case, I do not really want to be a politician, but I really want to do politics. And activism is politics too. So I guess this is a way to participate in debate and everything that we need to show and we need to raise to the people and the policymakers.
Kato, you are the national leader of the Saving Tuvalu global campaign.
Yep.
Becoming a politician does not necessarily it's not necessarily a bad thing, being a politician, although it's associated to a lot of bad things. But it's more activism. How do you feel about bringing your voice everywhere? That's also part of the political world. How do you go about it?
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe that is a very important thing for me to do right now, because that is why I left the dream of being a musician. It's because I wanted to save Tuvalu. So in order for me to put my voice out there, I need to be a type of politician that is not leaving my identity as a Tuvaluan behind, but taking it with me. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Livia, you want to go into politics? What are you going to do?
I don't particularly like labels. I just want to be myself. I think this is my biggest ambition, and to be allowed to be myself and still be able to have a life that I love, being that. If I have to think of career moves, I for sure take weird steps. I have to admit, maybe unconventional ones. That's what I would say. But there is something that for me resonates quite strongly, and I love languages. Some people here might know I speak several ones. I'm trying to learn Arabic as well. I can say masal khir, which should be good evening. I tried. But I think we also need to speak different languages when it comes to not just the languages themselves, when it comes to technical languages, and so being able to speak, to understand how policy work, how technical people work, and maybe also just understanding those different perspectives in the way people communicate. So anything that can bring us closer to reality, I think that's what we should do. And politicians, I think, often miss the reality. And that's why I think we need to keep, as I was saying, that zoom out, but also keep the focus on the local realities.
Thank you, Livia. We have sorry, Ben, you wanted to come? No? I have 3 questions here in the room. So let's start from the gentleman there. And perhaps, I don't know, would you mind helping me with the mic? I cannot stand up because I'm plugging. So maybe he...
Yes?
The one with the white chair over there. Yes. Or maybe there's a mic here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity. So my name is Pedro, I'm from Portugal. I'm here at COP representing a youth organization. And my question will be, when youth gets into negotiation rooms or enters in discussions, sometimes we feel that we need to bring 10, 20 points to get one of them approved. And this sometimes is very discouraging for us. And we see as well that people that no longer are youth, but they were advocates at some point for certain things, especially in terms of energy transition and climate, we see that those people, we think that they forgot the position they had before, but actually I think that they see that in order to achieve some minor points, actually, they need to almost sell their soul to achieve those minor points. So my question would be like, what will be your advice? And we are seeing that youth, for feeling that they are not really heard, they are taking like more extremist actions. So what will be your advice in terms for the companies and for the organizations? What should they do in this sense? And at the same time, what will be your advice in order to achieve like more accomplishments in their negotiations, in the meetings that really matter? Thank you.
So, who wants to kick off? Who wants to reply to our Portuguese friend? Ana Kaisa, you want to give it a go?
Okay, I can try. Well, I can assure you that that feeling of frustration of not getting your points across in negotiations is shared not just by youth, but absolutely normally everybody who's in the negotiation room. It is an art of compromise. The more people and the more parties. I mean, we already have long, challenging negotiations amongst the 27 member states, and then when we add the UN layer with many more countries. So that is obviously something that it's very rare for any negotiating party to leave the room with having had every single proposal accepted as part of the final text. But maybe as a concrete way to try is also to just ensure that you have already tested the ideas, ideally with already someone in the room, in the negotiation room, or with important stakeholders, multipliers, someone who can give you third-party, kind of a third-party endorsement, and just to ensure to use as many different channels as possible to ensure that as many people in the negotiating room know what you are driving for, and also maybe to check a little bit that what is the room of maneuver? What is realistic? What are the red lines? Is there any way that our organization could team up with some of the negotiators or some of the teams just to hear a little bit that what are the red lines for the negotiators for the final outcome, and do it that way, but never consider it as a defeat or a failure if you do not get many of your points or messages across. Sometimes you have to go with one or two and be ready to compromise even on the level of ambition. But this is very often how international politics works.
And we have just a few minutes left, so I would like to go there with a couple of questions. Would you mind helping us with the mic? Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much for that lovely panel. I want to comment and then I'll ask a question. Okay, so first I want to comment on how we as young people can also work to ensure that we are active within the climate space. I think it's very important for us to identify our niche. That is to identify the area that you want to work on, and then you read widely on that. I want to comment on what was said by Maya Motley, the Prime Minister, Her Excellency, the Prime Minister of Barbados last year during COP27. She said that we do not live in a romantic novelty. We live in a real world with real situations. Therefore, it's very important for us to be able to read widely so that we'll be able to be conversant with the issues. And then the other issue that I want to comment on is the issue of fossil fuel phase out, and that's where my question will come in. I think it was also mentioned by one of the speakers, I'm not sure who, but she did talk about the importance of us ensuring that we have context-specific solutions, because maybe what works for Europe might not work for Africa. I'm Christopher Clotilde Mribidi, and I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm a COP28 International Youth Climate Delegate. And my question is, what collaborations or partnerships do you believe are essential in ensuring inclusive and equitable clean energy transition, especially for those that are disproportionately affected by the environmental injustices? Thank you.
Maybe we can take that one over there as well. The mic is closed. Thanks.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Mohamedou Saidou Balde, and I'm from Guinea-Bissau. It's actually not a question, it's a comment. I think as a youth and in every generation, I believe there will be problems coming out that we need to solve. And we have seen how complex is things related to climate change, poverty, energy transition, and etc. And then we globalize the problem because the problem is bigger than one country or another country. So it's a global problem. But then we have everything that is dependent on politics, political decisions, and we have geopolitics that really we don't want to globalize. We have polarization of the geopolitics, which is making the problem more complex. So I think we need to think about how do we try to globalize the geopolitics. I mean, I'm not saying to every country to be one, but at least we can think on the plans and strategy. How do we make sure that when, for instance, we are pushing for renewable energy, which is somehow in a country like mine, I witnessed that people are not ready even to have it because of the waste. You have, let's say, batteries, for example, which last 5 years, 6 years. After 6 years, if those countries, they don't have a sustainable waste management, then instead of solving the problem, you are creating problems. So I mean, we need to, what I mean by globalizing the geopolitics, we need to help each other in ideas, in capacity building, but also supporting institutionally in those countries that we know they have some challenges, to support them institutionally to have a strong leadership in order to achieve the goal that we all need. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Who would like to take these last two questions? Jessica?
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Bella, for the question. Actually, I can say that for countries like us, maybe who are very, who feel like helpless or isolated from the situation that concern us, actually, what we should do is to find allies, because we are not able to sit on the table always. So we have to find allies. I think it's very strategic as a solution, but we have to find allies who are already involved into negotiation, or not just in negotiation, but are involved into politics. And so we can just advocate to them and they can bring our messages. But we cannot actually, maybe we don't have the space to do that ourselves. So maybe that's another solution.
We have 4 minutes left. So we'll do a lightning round, the last one, for a comment. What is what you want from this COP in one sentence or in one word? What would you like? Ben, what do you need from this COP?
I think, especially with climate justice for Rosa, we really want to make everyone see that it's not only about statistics and numbers, it's about people. And really make sure that everyone understands that what's decided here has such a massive impact on people's lives and livelihoods. So I really hope that there will be kind of a mentality switch about that.
A mentality switch. Very good. Livia.
Yeah, I think on one side I'd like whoever is in charge of the negotiations to be a bit more humble, so also to be a bit more pragmatic. And at the same time, for youth, I'd like to have more meaningful opportunities for us. Because one thing is saying, yes, we have the seat, but then is also being able to actually have a say that is meaningful in this seat. So yeah, thank you.
Have a say. That's also very important. Kato.
Thank you very much. People have been asking me the same question when I was around, and I will reply with the same answer. Also, last year I said this. What I want out of this COP is, you said you're 28? 29. So I'm 27. Back at home, I've been living all my life in this 27 years, and within this 28th COP, I have not seen any improvement. I lived the experience of climate change, feel it. And what I want out of this COP is real action. Real action.
Real action.
Real action.
Very clear.
Thank you.
Jessica, what is what you need, and what is what you want from this COP?
Okay, so what I want from this COP is more men attending session about gender. Thank you.
Well, that was very good. Anna-Kaisa, I know that you're also very into gender equality, and Anna-Kaisa, by the way, has a fantastic blog called Cassandra's Complex, Cassandra's blog.
That's a separate session.
Okay. About gender
Okay,
equality,
what-
so I recommend to go and check it out. Anna-Kaisa, what is what we need?
What I want from this this COP is a lasting political commitment that translates into action.
Action. That's very good. And you will indulge the moderator by basically letting me say what I want from this COP. And at least now what I want from this COP is another song from Kato to conclude and wrap up this session. So that's what I want. Kato. What happened to your guitar? Hopefully someone... There it is.
Oh.
There we go.
No?
And we need more partners like this one. That's great. Very good. Thanks for that.
Thank you. So this song is in Tuvaluan. It's about me being away from home and how I miss home. Te manuia e hala hala i tatou, e hala hala i lunga i vasa mamau. Talo sia ke whakamanuia mai, whakamoemoe ngā mo kausa ki ngā, e ki takoe ke whakamalusi, tofu ka ke atai te lalo langi, tolo toke toka mo tonga whiti, whakamoemoe ngā mo kausa ki ngā, e ki takoe ke whakamalusi, tofu ka ke atai te lalo langi, tolo toke toka mo tonga whiti, whakamoemoe ngā ne manuia, manatu natu atu, manatu natu atu, manatu natu atu, motoku kainga, manatu natu atu, manatu natu atu, manatu natu atu, motoku kainga, oiaka ki katoto waka. E tau taine hia de feelinga tena, matou e te talo atu, matou e oli atu, matou e noho atu, ke toi whetau i tatou. E ki tawa ke whakamalusi, tofu ka ke atai te lalo langi, tolo toke toka mo tonga whiti, whakamoemoe ngā ke manuia. Thank you. You did really good. Thank you.
So I could have not waited for any or wanted any other ending to the EU Energy Days, this one. So fantastic. Thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot to our panelists. And this concludes the EU Energy Days. So I have to basically say that it's been a bit of a roller coaster over the last 7 months to organize it. And that is particularly thanks to a fantastic team that is behind these EU Energy Days. So before, again, thanking the panelists today for joining us, let me thank Alex Marshall over there. Delphine Rio over there. Marion Goubet. And Brieux Posnik. with that, looking forward to seeing you in further COPs, and in between, please do stay in touch. And looking forward to seeing you all. Thank you.